Perfect.
We're back. Super Bowl, post-Super Bowl edition of the podcast. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
Super Bowl. So that was a good Super Bowl.
Could have been better, but it was one of the better ones that I had seen in recent memory for most of it.
Super competitive. Eagles got up super early. That fumble, atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Fumble return was atrocious.
It looked like he just threw it on the ground, honestly.
Let's get to the obvious. The holding call. That was really kind of, I probably, besides Rihanna's halftime performance, I think everybody has talked about that and the pass interference call. Excuse me, it wasn't pass interference, it's defensive holding.
Mm-hmm.
Tug on the jersey.
Can't really be having that, I don't think.
So, there's a few problems, a few issues. Earlier in the game, there was a much worse case that happened that was uncalled. Greg Olsen, commentator, former player.
Former Panther,
former Chicago Bear, former Seahawk.
Yep.
He was, at the time when it was called, said he can't call that play. Can't call that a holding in that moment of the game. A lot of thoughts here. A lot of ways to go about it, because realistically that was the game, because
absolutely,
that happened right outside the 2 minutes. They ran one play, 2-minute warning, gave him the first down after the 2-minute warning, so that rounded down to whatever it was, 7 seconds left, and Jalen Hurts threw the duck at the end. But it really didn't matter at that point.
But
man, I don't know. James Bradbury came out afterwards. It's like, yeah, I hugged him, or I tugged on him. It was a holding. Did he say that just to not make it a controversy? Because
you have to.
Watching that game, they kind of let him play. There was hardly any penalties in that game. Oh man!
I didn't even.
Oh yeah, we forgot to crack it. But I don't know. To me, it was tough because Mahomes was about to get hit. Kind of just yeeted it up there. Yeah, it's a hold. Probably by the letter of the law, it's a hold. But it's hard in that situation when you didn't call it all game until then.
Especially the fact that, because I don't know if anybody really talked about it, Juju wasn't getting that ball regardless.
Yeah, I mean,
because he didn't spin him around, he didn't bear hug him, nothing like that, and he still wasn't even close to that football.
Yeah.
Where does the uncatchable come into play then?
So I believe uncatchable is only on pass interference, and that was a defensive holding call, which is why it was only 5 yards and automatic first down, whereas if it was pass interference, it'd be where the ball was, whatever. So I assume, I'd have to really look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's the official rule, but I don't know. Regardless, Mahomes is about to get blasted. He kind of just yeets it up there.
Yeah.
My problem is you don't call it all game. I don't know how you call it under 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's like,
if they called it all game, I have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely no problem. It's a penalty. He had his arm around him. He had a little bit of a pull.
That was the first one all game.
That was the first one all game, and honestly, there was a third down prior to third down. Oh, I have another thing I'm adding to our list. There's a third down where Bradbury was in coverage on Juju. Ball's thrown a little wide. Kind of looked like there's a little bit of hold, and the referee's like, nope, let him play. Super Bowl, let him play.
It's almost like the refs do it intentionally. Like, where can we fuck up a game the most? And then just make sure that they put their stamp on it or something. Because it's like, I don't get it.
Because that would have been a wild finish. I mean, at that point, neither team was really stopping each other.
No.
It would have came down to, could have the Eagles have gone back and scored a touchdown?
Yeah, because they had a minute 50 with
at that point,
two timeouts or something?
They would have had a minute 50, 2 timeouts, assuming he makes the field goal. Let's say they probably get the ball at the 25-yard line. All kinds of time.
That makes it a game. That makes it interesting.
That makes it a wild game. And I think that's what kind of hurts, too, is because it was a very entertaining, high-scoring football game. And everybody was ready to oh, yeah, they're going to kick the field goal. Let's see if the Eagles can do it. And they never got the chance.
That was one of the better Super Bowls that I can remember in, recent memory. That was a real good one.
I mean, since probably Atlanta, New England, right? I mean,
yeah,
that was because the last couple have been interesting. Last year's was okay.
Last year's had a very similar call to what this was.
Yeah, last year's was real good too because that was two teams kind of out of nowhere, the Rams and the Bengals, and that came down to pretty much a fourth down. Can Joey Burr get the ball off the chase? But no, but all in all,
there was a pretty similar call that happened in the last game though, where it was they got a holding call that extended the drive, but that one even looked more like a holding more so than this one did. So that's
and I think it's also tough too because a lot of these calls are going Kansas City's way, and that you know how it goes. It's just a lot. It keeps going. There's not too many that it's like, oh man, since Kansas City can't catch a break. It's like they catch every single break, or so it seems. I mean. Yeah. I'd really have to mark down and watch the game to be like, oh, that was a penalty, that wasn't a penalty. Yeah. But then Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP. So they named him the MVP, and at first I was like, wow, was he the MVP? Then I looked at his second half stats. So they scored 3 touchdowns and a field goal, all 4 of their possessions. Mm-hmm. I believe he was 13 out of 14. Throughout the playoffs, he had, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had himself a day. It's tough because he wasn't on the field as much. Obviously, if the Eagles got it, it would have been Jalen Hurts because he had himself a game. But
I almost would have been in favor of just giving it to Hurts.
Has there ever been a losing?
I don't know if there was if there ever was a case for it.
I'm gonna look that up real quick because I actually don't know.
It just he played so well, and then obviously I understand what you're saying with Mahomes in the second half. Yeah. But you still look at his stats and you go, oh, he threw for 180 yards. Yeah.
I think it just kind of goes I think it just kind of shows like how dominant the Eagles were. But also, too, the Chiefs scored quick. But I don't even know if I want to say that because it was Eagles went down and scored. Kansas City went down and scored. Eagles came back.
Where the Eagles weren't scoring, where they were
right, and then Eagles were kind of like holding the ball, and then they got 14-7. The fumble happened. So Mahomes was off the field quite a bit, and the Eagles were just running the clock. But I saw there was a lot of controversy over who had it. Let's see.
Who had what?
So a lot of people were like, why is Patrick Mahomes the Super Bowl MVP?
I didn't really understand it either, personally. So
when looking back, if you had to pick somebody on the winning team, I don't know who else you could have given it to because I kind of went through the stats. Pacheco had a pretty good game.
I would have said Kelsey or Bolton.
Kelsey had a game. Bolton had a game. Kelsey actually, and this is something too, because I didn't get a result too, so I don't think there's ever been a Super Bowl MVP on a losing team. Greg Olsen, I love Greg Olsen. I see he's getting some backlash, but I love Greg Olsen.
No, that was one of the best commentated games I've ever watched.
And
those two are great.
And he made an excellent point. Travis Kelce scores that touchdown, and he talks about Greg Olsen gets real excited. He's like, okay, let's look at this play, and it's you move Kelce because they had Slay on Kelce on the outside. They motion him in. He goes that wheel route. They switch the guys. The guy can't get over there and make coverage. Travis Kelce dictated that entire game because the Eagles had nobody who could cover him.
No.
So they were like, oh, we're going to play man. And pretty much whoever's on man. They moved Kelce around to make sure Slay or Bradbury weren't on him. They moved him around one-on-one, and they're like, oh, shit, that can't happen. So then they start switching to man, or they start switching to cover 4, start switching all their coverages to play zone, try to stop Travis Kelce, and he was wide open. And Mahomes found him, to his credit. He only had one incompletion in the second half, so he found everybody in the second half. But I see where you can make the case where Travis Kelce could have been the MVP. I think he's the only other one, because Bolton had a good game, but it's hard to give a defender when you give up 35 points.
No, I know.
And also, too, like the fumble recovery, he was in the right spot at the right time, and he ran it back. Yeah.
No,
but he had an awesome game.
Kelsey was where I was more concerned with.
Kelsey, I can't. You were like, okay, you're watching this game, and I guess you can give credit to Bieniemy or how you say his name, and Andy Reid, because they were like, here's what we're gonna do. we know they're going to have all eyes on Kelsey. So we are going to move him around to make sure he's at a linebacker or a safety. Pretty much we don't want Darius Slay on him. Was pretty much their plan. And Greg Olsen put it out where they were just moving him around. Oh, wait, what is this? He did have the... that is true, because Patrick Mahomes, at the end of that first half, we have a commentator about the Barry Bonds juice treatment to make sure he felt no pain in the second half. Because really, at the end of the first half, Mahomes had that run, they kicked the field goal, whatever, and his ankle looked real rough, and he was kind of limping around.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that the Kansas City Chiefs made it throughout the whole year with Travis Kelce. You know he's getting the ball.
Yeah,
and you can't stop it. Like, I just can't. I have a hard time because, I mean, they had the play where Kadarius Toney has like a little out pass, whatever. They seemed it open. Juju had an okay game. Like, he was there.
Oh, hey, you want to know how many yards MVS had?
How many?
0.
Did he even have a target his way? Like,
I don't even know.
I don't even know.
I don't even care. It made me so happy. I hate
also
that
too,
guy.
like Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know how long he's going to last in this league because, boy, he runs
taking
hard,
shots.
and you watch him play, and he just gets absolutely blown up. Like, he'll like get a 4 or 5 yard run and gets absolutely demolished, and it's like, wow, man, like, did you not see it coming? Absolutely great player. But I just wanted to touch base because, like, Patrick Mahomes absolutely dominated the second half. And I don't know, like,
straight tore it all to the ankle.
Oh, he had every pain reliever, painkiller was in his foot. He probably didn't know where his bottom half of his body was for most of the time. That's why he didn't feel anything. But all in all, early ESPN rankings came out already. NFL did their rankings. They're liking the Chiefs to repeat. We got a long way to go.
Yeah.
The whole offseason, injuries, whatever. I think they got to re-sign their left tackle, Brown. I know they used franchise tag him. I don't know if they ever extended him. I could look it up. But it looks like they're not really losing anybody. I mean, Juju's a free agent. And you could probably get him back at another 10, 11 million or whatever. But I think the Chiefs have proven you get a deep threat, you get somebody unguardable, Travis Kelce, and boy, they are going to be
the defense still worries me though. Like, nothing for nothing, they played well enough just for the amount of time that they were on the field. They played decent, but they still give up a ton of yards, a ton of points. And
I mean, they have a young defense because Bolden, real good. I think Karlaftis there could be really good.
Yep.
Snead's really good. He's going to
Chris Jones is
number 3.
Chris Jones might be the best defensive player.
I think he kind of replaced Aaron Donald this year finally after that huge run from Aaron Donald.
He was so good.
Trent McDuffie had an up and down Super Bowl, but for the most part he played very well this year. So I think the Chiefs have pieces. They're not going to pay a receiver. They're not going to pay a running back. They're pretty much. I think they have built their team to the modern day NFL to a T. You have your star quarterback. You have a star tight end, which has been so important the last, I don't know, between Gronk, Kelsey, Kittle. Look through
Andrews,
look through like all the teams that make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, you're going to have your outliers here and there, but it gives you such a big advantage if you have a star tight end. But yeah, I don't know. The early money is for the Chiefs to repeat, and then that's going to lead me to my next question. I see they've been asking Mahomes already, are you going to play till you're 45? Are you going to? Go. And it's already Mahomes. Does he have a shot? So,
which is sure he's had a better first 5 years of his career than Brady. Just strictly winning wise, just strictly winning, but 5 more.
So this is
Brady has won what? One of every 8 Super Bowls ever played.
So Patrick Mahomes has won 2 Super Bowls his first 5 years. Let's just say he stays on course for this trek. So they made it to 5 straight AFC Championship games, whatever. So his next 5 years, if he wins 2 more Super Bowls, that means he would have 4 in 10 years. And you're like, wow, that's the pace that he's going to need to keep.
Yeah.
Because then if you go 6 to the first 15 years, and that's 15 years in the league, winning 6 Super Bowls, I think it kind of just puts in comparison. And he's going to have one more than Brady because when they met head-to-head, Brady got him. I know it's a team game, but for the history pundits was
absolutely.
Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. What was it 2 years ago now, 3 years ago, depending on how, if you count this year as a year. But so that means he's got to keep this pace for another 15 years.
And you got to play well for 15 years. Like, it's not.
I think it kind of puts in perspective how great Tom Brady has been for so long. And I think a lot of it, I love the strategy. Like I said, I love the strategy with the Kansas City. Tyreek Hill wanted his big pay, and then they're like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah, well, with him, it's not like he's a glorified deep threat, honestly, if you ask me. Because his hands really aren't that good. He has issues with dropping the football.
Tyreek Hill, he's so fast, and he's so good at running routes, that it's kind of like, you could take a 7-yard swing pass, he'll take it 70 yards. Like, he has that ability. He could take a deep out, you miss a tackle, he's taking it, you're not going to catch him. And that's really where the value of Tyreek Hill comes in, because there was, with Miami this year, he was open all year until it was finding him, and then when it started in deeper and deeper and deeper, Tua kind of folded. But the Chiefs have a shot. I think an underrated aspect of the Chiefs is when they went out and they got Orlando Brown, the left tackle.
Absolutely.
They got a lot to protect Patrick Mahomes, so they have to keep that because, man, these guys are running around. They take some big hits. Like,
not only that, but isn't this is Mahomes' second bout with like an ankle injury or a lower leg in the playoffs and everything
because besides Brady tearing his ACL, he was never really hurt.
Yeah.
He never really had stretches where you're like, oh, man, I don't know. And it
seems like Mahomes has got Steph Curry ankles.
Right, well, yeah, because that's a lot of these guys, they last so long. And that's that worries me about Josh Allen. We've talked about it all year. Mm-hmm. Cam Newton at word with me. Russell Wilson took a ton of beating now. He's in his early 30s, and we're kind of like, is he done?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to look out for. But I was just running through all the Super Bowl stories. We'll see if their offensive coordinator gets a head coaching job, because Andy Reid was talking about today that he says he deserves one. But it's hard for me because, man, there's been a lot of guys that have come out, former Chiefs, that are like,
especially when Kelsey and Mahomes are saying, oh yeah, we came up with this play after practice when everybody left and we used it in the game. And it's like, so you're not even running this by anybody.
Well,
that
was against Buffalo last year where they called the play and they got in the huddle. They called the play and then Mahomes goes to Kelsey, hey, this is what we're going to do instead. It's like, okay, yeah, so it's kind of a big thing. And then also this is year 3. Jalen Hurts. I figured we might as well just cover all the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, extension eligible because he's second round pick, so he's only signed through 4 years. How much money is he worth? Because he had a game at the Super Bowl. That was what they did and how they used him.
Phenomenal.
Whew. He is going to get paid.
Phenomenal.
He's probably. You got to pay him more than Lamar Jackson, right? How much money is he worth? He got into the Super Bowl, right? Lamar Jackson hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl, and then I don't know if Lamar Jackson's ever had a good of year as what Hurts had this year. So you paying him? I'm paying him. I think I'm paying him. All right, easy. I think I'm paying them. I think you have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't know what they're going to have to do because they're going to have to figure out some things because their defensive line. Bradbury's a free agent. Hargrove is a free agent. Their big D tackle, who's phenomenal. I think Fletcher Cox is a free agent, but he didn't really have that great of a year. And that's a lot of money off the books.
Yeah, he's
Miles Sanders is a free agent. I don't know. I thought
they've got Gainwell and they've got Boston Scott,
and they got. You know how I feel about running backs.
Yeah.
I think they could find, especially
if you keep that offensive line intact. It doesn't matter who they throw.
Right, and because of the franchise tag, I saw a lot of rumors all year. Josh Jacobs wanted to go to Philadelphia, but now I think he stays in the Raiders because of the franchise tag. Mm-hmm. But we can talk about that too. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that covers everything Super Bowl related. I think, unless you have anything else to add, we get the Eagles. Eagles look solid for the future. Their offensive line's so good. I know. I saw Lane Johnson, and I think is having surgery. So he played all year, absolutely
torn
mangled.
adductor.
Played mangled, didn't give up a sack all year, and hasn't given up a sack in a couple of years now. Shout out. Yep.
Can we just talk about the fact that every time they wanted 2, 3, 4 yards on a QB sneak, that it didn't matter what the Chiefs were doing?
You know, I don't know, because I can't remember if you went somewhere else, but I was screaming on that 2-point conversion when they lined up Jalen Hurts in shotgun. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Put him in the quarterback sneak. I mean, there was a play. Chris Jones finally was like, you know what, I'm sick of going low, I'm going high. Yeah, he goes high, hits Jalen Hurts at the line, and his offensive line's like, hey, you're still going backwards.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you could do about it. I was talking about this at the Super Bowl. At what point, okay, so yeah, you have like your guys pushing and stuff. At what point do you not like just send out like Miles Sanders, put him under center,
right?
Put Jalen Hurts out at wide and just push the line. You're gonna they got 3-4 yards each time.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that.
No, that was insane.
I mean, that was worse. I think that was worse than what was it, 2 years ago when it was New England, Buffalo, and they went through the ball 3 times, New England?
Yeah.
And they just kept running the ball and running the ball. That was horrible because you're like, I watched that game. I'm sure you watch it too because we get every Buffalo Bills game here. And you're like, please, just stop the run.
Yeah.
And Buffalo's like, can't help you. Like, I don't know what you want from us. Like, we can't. But I don't know if I've ever seen it because it was like the Eagles were playing that 4th down didn't matter. If it was 4th and 2, we were getting it. There's no doubt about it. So their first 3 plays were like, hey, if we get 8 yards, we're first down. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that.
No, that was insane.
But that was their offensive line. We've talked. They have the best offensive line in football. Kansas City's not too far behind it because Patrick Mahomes had all day to throw. They didn't sack him. The Eagles broke all those records. Couldn't sack him.
Yeah.
Couldn't sack him. But yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I've ever seen him like that. I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like that again because, I mean, like, I remember back in Carolina's run, it was 4th and 1, 4th and 2. Cam Newton's in the shotgun and he's getting the 2 yards. Like, you couldn't stop him, but it wasn't, hey, I'm going under center and my line is just going to push your line backwards. It was, I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
I haven't either.
When we were watching it, we were like, wow, like, I don't think they can stop this because Kansas City knew it was coming. They were like, we're sending all of our big boys down. We're putting Chris Jones in the middle, the best D tackle. And
then he ran into Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and they were like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, yeah.
I just wanted to add this, too. Jalen Hurts squatted 600 pounds when he was at Oklahoma, so I feel like that's part of how you make that happen.
You know what? Maybe they don't need Miles Sanders, right? Maybe I was just figuring to save wear and tear, but Jalen Hurts just keep the legs going, and that's how
he was squatting 600 pounds.
Oh, I know what I wanted to touch here because we're not done with the Eagles. Well, we are, but we aren't done with the Eagles.
Okay.
Their offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah.
Shane Steichen.
Sure.
We've been kind of looking up how to pronounce it. If somebody knows, please let us know exactly. I saw it like all last week. I reported it to my friends, like I am Adam Schefter. Now I'm like, oh, he done deal him to the Colts. It's official earlier today. Now, we've been talking about the draft. Does this guarantee that they're going after Bryce Young? I mean, it has the closest thing to Jalen Hurts in this draft. Bless you. I mean, Jalen Hurts was a 2nd round pick. Bless you, late second round pick.
Well, I thought that was criminally low when he got taken in late 2nd round, anyways, just because of what he did at Oklahoma and everything like that. So
he was such a weird case because him getting benched. We all heard about it. Him getting benched
was not
in the
really
championship
deservedly
game.
So, I don't think.
But I think that was just kind of, and we talk about it all the time. If you're drafting a guy, if you're signing a guy, you're looking at you're looking at everything. If your coach benches you in the most important game for scrambled eggs, Tua, he wasn't scrambled by that point, but you're like, oh well, the most important game of the year, we're benching our leader, our guy.
Yeah, no,
and I think that's just one of those things. Like you look at it, I mean, he doesn't have like a super strong arm, but God, he could run. He didn't make any dumb decisions. That he's always kind of taking care of. I guess the one fumble, but he's always kind of taking care of the ball.
Yeah.
But as soon as like
that was part of that fumble was part of the script anyway. So
I saw it all on Twitter this morning. As soon as they named him the coach, it's like, oh, the Colts are going up at 1 and they're taking Bryce Young. And I've seen a lot of things, a lot of comments or whatever. Is that kind of a done deal?
It makes sense.
One, I think that's absolutely unbelievable fit too because their defense is pretty good. Colts. Basically, you're like, hey, we're taking the hottest offensive coordinator. We're sticking him in. I mean, besides maybe Ben Johnson, whatever, doesn't matter. But we're sticking him at a place where we need to fix the offense. You've got Jonathan Taylor. They got the running backs. Their offensive line's okay. So, hey, you know what? We need some wide receivers. We need some, and all of a sudden...
You got Pittman. You got... can't even think of his name.
Was it Price or Pierce? Who was the...
Yeah, Pierce. That's what I was thinking of.
I don't think they're as bad as their record, but...
No.
But also, too, you had Jeff Saturday. You had Matt Ryan, who then got benched for Ellinger, who then came back, who then got benched for Nick Foles. I mean, that team was an absolute disaster. And now you have the hottest coordinator. And I just feel like if his plan is to emulate, and Andy Reid talked about it, and Sirianni talked about it, they're like, this guy's legit. He's going to follow their thing. So all of a sudden now you're looking at it and you're like, Bryce Young to the Colts, right? Like that's kind of to get that, they're going to have to jump ahead of the Texans because who knows what the Texans are going to do. They're going to take a quarterback. I keep seeing that, DeMeco Ryans going to load the defense. I don't buy it for a quarter of a second, but yeah, I think that's a done deal now. What do you think?
It's just a lot for me. Just based off the simple fact of what I was talking about last week is the guy's just little.
Well, hang on.
It's a lot for me.
Before we get into do you like the fit there? I think it's
absolutely. I mean, if that's what you're trying to do, that makes perfect sense because it's if they're the same quarterback,
right? Do you like we like him going to the Colts. We think that's a good fit for him, right?
Yeah.
I think that'll be a lot of fun. I don't know if Bryce Young. I hate getting into, and I see like people. Oh, this is the guy. This is the guy. This is the guy. It's so hard when you draft somebody. You kind of draft them, and this is why I think Will Levis is shot up so high, and everyone's like, oh, he's not. I've been seeing a lot of things like they're like, oh, he's not going to be a top 10 pick. He's going in the top 10. He is going in the top 10, but because he's played an NFL offense, he has NFL traits. You're not going to get a Deshaun Kaiser out of him. Where I love his. If you guys don't follow it, go on his podcast because I don't know if he's a podcast or his TikTok or whatever it is, but he talks about all the time. He's like, calling plays is so much different. And he's like, you get 700 plays in college, you might get 300-400. Like if you get 700 plays. They change week in, week out. Here's what we're going to do. And it's basically, hey, this is what the defense is. This is what we're going to try to do to get around it. But, I don't know. I think if their plan is to run an offense similar, I think Bryce Young's going one to the Colts. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Like, you're going to get a quarterback who is every bit of what Jalen Hurts is, just similarity-wise, looking at it on paper, it should be a pretty slam dunk of a pick. They're just going to need maybe another weapon or two on the outside, and as long as that offensive line comes back and plays like that offensive line should have been all year, then it seems like a slam dunk pick.
I'm going to take a look because I'm pretty sure the Colts, as soon as they make their move, I think they have a lot of salary cap space. I don't know. So right now they're sitting at
maybe another weapon or two on the outside.
They're currently sitting at. Let's see. They have $12.5 million over. But they're going to save. They're going to save so much. They're going to save almost $20 million on Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
They have 61 guys signed. So you figure you're going to 10 of those come off. That's probably about another $1 million apiece. So they're going to have about $40-50 million of cap space when all said and done. Which is quite a bit. You can go out, you can get a receiver. I don't know if Jacoby Myers, he's the top guy this year for receivers.
No, D-Hop is. Is he not?
I think, no, Deion, well, again, he's not a free agent.
Okay.
But I can't imagine that the Colts would go all in on Hopkins, though, right now. But maybe they will. Maybe they will. So if we can move on from the Colts, but I just wanted to quickly cover them.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson. This past weekend, Lamar Jackson, who we're probably going to talk about nonstop. Before we get into Lamar Jackson, hang on. I'm going to screw up your timesheet here.
Okay.
Last week we talked about Derek Carr.
Okay, yeah.
What a 360 that was. It seemed like he was done going to the Saints, and then all of a sudden he's like, hey, you know what? You know what, Raiders? Fuck you.
Yeah.
I am not accepting a trade anywhere.
So good.
Cut me. Pay me $40 million or cut me. So we are one day away from Derek Carr getting cut because I don't think it's official yet.
Yeah, no, but it's going to happen.
But now I don't know. Does he end up on the Saints? I saw, was it Wojnarowski? One of the guys on ESPN said that Derek Carr to Carolina makes a lot of sense, and that he apparently may try to schedule a visit there. But also the New York Football Jets just hired their new offensive assistant.
Yeah, and he's got ties to Derek Carr.
He's got ties to Derek Carr. Yeah. So where do we think Derek Carr ends up? And we talked about it last week. We were like, just cut him. If I'm Derek Carr, I'm like, hey, you know what? No team's going to pay me what I'm worth. Go as a free agent, take a 1 year, 2 year contract, whatever.
Mm-hmm. I still think Jimmy's looking like he might be a Raider as well, but I think it's between maybe them and the Jets for Jimmy. Honestly, I could see Derek Carr going anywhere in the NFC South.
Derek Carr could literally go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because Tampa Bay came out, they said Kyle Trask is our guy. I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I buy that, but they're about $60 million over the cap because they went all in this year.
Yeah.
I think even the following year they're still going to have cap problems. So I can't see him going to Tampa Bay.
But him and DJ Moore would be a lot of fun.
Carolina last year was dead last throwing the ball. The year before that, they were dead last throwing the ball. So, Derek Carr would be an obvious improvement. But no, I don't. I thought it was interesting. He went and he visited with the Saints. And then he was like, "Yep, you know what? I'm done."
Yeah, that was awesome. That was so cool.
And I can't tell if it was because the Raiders won a 3rd round pick for Derek Carr.
Yep.
And that went out the window. And I just thought it was super interesting. And I think the Jets, in a dark horse candidate to the Jets also too, Ryan Tannehill.
Because apparently that guy's got ties to Ryan Tannehill as well.
Yes, and it kind of sounds like the Titans are done with Tannehill.
Well, can you blame him?
No.
I can't.
But I don't know. What are the Titans doing? I don't know if I can ever remember. So, I guess while we're just talking about Derek Carr, we can throw the Titans in there. So now that they're talking that Tannehill might not be with the Titans, have you ever seen a team that had the number 1 seed 2 years ago? Or I guess it would be last season technically, and then this past season kind of was just like, fuck A.J. Brown, we don't need him.
Yep.
Now their quarterback, fuck Tannehill, we don't need him. And all the while your prime running back is just like, all right, the wheels keep churning, I guess, you know, and it's just an interesting thing because there's so much that goes into it. So
it seems like they've tried to do everything that they can to blow up that team.
Right? I don't know why.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me because...
the general manager got fired, but whoever their new guy is, if you're like, hey, we don't need a quarterback. What did Willis do this year that you're like, hey, that's our guy? Watching him play, it was like, whew.
Is Vrabel ripping his hair out just like watching all this stuff unfold?
He's a good coach. I don't know. So, all right, let's jump back to Lamar Jackson now because... There's a lot of Lamar Jackson information that has come out this past weekend. We talked about it last week. $100 million apart, guaranteed money. $100 million apart. Franchise tag probably going to have to happen because it's $32 million. That's what Lamar Jackson would get. And it kind of sounds like Lamar Jackson's not going to play under the franchise tag.
It doesn't seem that way, but for whatever reason,
and just before we get your comments, because there's a lot of teams that have just popped up. So they also an unnamed source from the Ravens.
I hate when people do that.
I hate that.
Put your fucking name on something.
Well, I think I wonder a lot of it too because Adam Schefter is guilty of this. He works with a lot of agents. He works with a lot of players. Hey, this is what's going on. Try to drive up value. The Ravens now, unnamed source, says that they're willing to take a boatload of draft picks for Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
That came out on Saturday, and I wrote it down so we could talk about it. And every name that I'm seeing they've talked about it. Go on Twitter, search it. The Atlanta Falcons are willing to give up everything for Lamar Jackson. Yes. There's other teams that are also involved too that have
The
talked
Falcons
about
just
it.
seem like a weird team.
Right? And so I kind of did some Twitter searching, and you get the verified check mark, whatever. And it's whatever it is nowadays.
Yeah,
but the talk was that the Ravens want 3 firsts, 3 seconds, a quarterback prospect.
Whew.
There's other teams that are also involved too.
Wow.
Ritter, 3 firsts, 3 seconds.
And so I kind of did some Twitter search.
Seems like a lot to me.
Seems like a lot. It seems like a lot, but I don't. The more and more, like, I keep searching, and it's like Lamar Jackson, the Falcons. Pull up your Twitter right now. You click Twitter, type in Lamar Jackson. The first team that's going to pop up that's not the Ravens is the Atlanta Falcons. And
Interesting.
because let's be honest, at this point, if you're the Ravens, you need weapons. You need to have weapons. Like, there's no way you can't have weapons now. Their defense they got a nice young defense. I mean, they got to add. I mean, they're gonna have Bruce because Campbell's a free agent. Like, they have some.
They got
wiggle
all-pro
room.
Roquan Smith.
Yeah, all pro Roquan. But I mean, you look at their defense, super young. They played pretty well this year.
Yeah,
they were
absolutely.
a playoff team. But man, the Bengals aren't going anywhere.
No.
These teams aren't going anywhere.
The Steelers are kind of making their rise.
I mean, the Steelers, who everybody thought was going to be absolutely horrible this year, finished 9-8. Mm-hmm. As Tomlin, I think, is a God mode coach. I think he's absolutely insane. So I just throwing it out there. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, are you trading for Lamar Jackson?
That's a lot for me, specifically because he's a running quarterback. You don't know if Lamar's going to be healthy in 3 years.
Oh, yeah. You have no clue.
You could do this. He gets you 2 years, and RG3's his knee, and then he's all done. Like, it doesn't take much, especially for these running quarterbacks. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, so, and then also,
that's a lot of capital to give up, though, to do something like that.
Yeah, because Ian Rappaport, the first thing I popped up was the Ravens' plan is to keep him, and they will listen to offers. I mean, that's Ian Rappaport kind of reported it, and he has some interesting names on there, and it's hard because you don't really know, like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you don't know. Ian Rappaport might be like, hey, this is who's looking at him. Maybe it drives up the price. I'm sure, like Adam Schefter, he gets the agents work on it. So, and just Googling it, I didn't really Google it, but I typed in Lamar Jackson. The first thing that pops up is Falcons, Commanders trade package, Carolina Panthers trade package. So if you Google it, is there enough smoke here right now? We're like, huh.
I mean, if people are talking about it, I guess it's got to be something.
Right? Because Harbaugh said, he came out last week and said 200% chance Lamar Jackson's going to be here. We don't care. We're tagging him. He's staying. The offensive coordinator search is still going. That has to be a little bit of a reason for concern because now all the other teams have had their pick. I mean, besides Arizona, I think all the head coaching vacancies are now filled. Carolina needs offensive coordinator, so I mean, you have all these offensive coordinators now vying for spots, and I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody linked to anything with the Ravens.
Like Carolina picked up Jim Caldwell today, who interviewed for head coaching and offensive coordinator, and he's a senior assistant, so he's not even calling the plays. So guys are flying off the board, and it's what is the problem here where you're like, hey, you know what? We're franchising Jackson. We're going to let him pick the offensive coordinator. And he's sitting around and he's like, yeah, cool. Sure. What do you want to do? What are we doing? Because the Eagles coach, the Eagles quarterback coach, I believe I don't know if they've already named him, but I think it was pretty much they're going to move him up to offensive coordinator. So, I don't know. If there's smoke, is there fire? I don't know. Just throwing it out there because, like I said, it's the... everywhere that I'm looking is
What are we doing? Because the Eagles coach,
he's gone, but I don't know. I don't.
That's awfully interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Fields, Justin Fields getting swapped for Lamar Jackson because they have all the money, they want to pay him. Ravens would get Justin Fields. I've seen a lot of that. I don't know if you're Baltimore if you would ever take that because
you're biggest swapping quarterbacks at this point. Obviously,
also too, like if you're the Ravens, you take Justin Fields, right? You're hoping in the next 2 years Justin Fields maybe will be almost as good as Lamar Jackson. So I think that's asking for a lot, but I'm just throwing it out there because I was kind of caught off guard and I've been seeing it, and it's like, oh, Lamar Jackson might be on the move now all of a sudden. They don't have a coordinator. He won't play on the franchise tag. They're $100 million apart.
I don't think he plays on the franchise tag, not even one single bit. There's no shot. Because of how much he's been vying for his money, there's no way he's taking a 1-year prove-it deal and playing.
And that would kill the Ravens too, because if they franchise tag him and he doesn't play, they got to make a lot of moves as it is for their,
What, you're going to be $40 million, $45 million you're going to be paying this guy, and he's going to be sitting bench?
Just sitting there.
But then you got Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley, so.
The Ravens have the money, just pay him.
You got Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley there, sitting there.
Or was he a free agent?
I don't even know.
I think he's a free agent.
I'm just like ripping it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So he's a free agent, so I mean, someone's going to give him a shot. Someone's going to give him a shot to at least to be a. I mean, you look at all the teams that need quarterbacks.
Compete for a job. He's going to compete somewhere for a job.
I mean, they're going to go somewhere, especially with all the quarterbacks moving around. But yeah, I don't know. I guess early predictions. Where do you think Lamar Jackson ends up?
Jesus, I don't even want to speculate.
I'm going to speculate it just because I've seen it, and I'll be the first one to throw the dart. I think he ends up on Atlanta.
Okay.
From everything that I've been seeing, and Atlanta's coach kind of needs to save his job.
Oh, absolutely.
Lamar Jackson, you trade for Lamar Jackson, you probably win the division.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless Derek Carr goes to one of the Saints or Panthers, then you got somebody.
Yeah, even the Saints are. The Saints got to make so many moves to get under the cap. Tampa Bay, they're pretty much done for the next couple of years. They're in full rebuild. And Carolina, whatever, they're going to end up with a rookie quarterback. Derek Carr would be nice, but I really don't see Derek Carr going. Like, why? If you're Derek Carr, why would you go to Carolina instead of the Jets?
Yeah.
I just think there's other better fits.
That's right.
I don't say there's better fits, but you have more of a shot, and then especially like I said, we'll see what happens with Tannehill. Tennessee might have a job because that was kind of out of nowhere. I didn't really see that coming, but maybe he goes. Maybe if Lamar Jackson goes, he ends up with the Ravens. I don't know.
You mean Tannehill?
Or no, if Lamar Jackson gets traded, maybe Derek Carr ends up.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. Who knows? I don't really know anymore.
That'd be tough.
But yeah, I don't know. The more and more I keep seeing, you look at Atlanta, they got Drake London, Pitts. They got about 8 running backs. That's kind of what you need apparently with Lamar. You got Patterson, Algier. I'm just throwing it out there, but I just think when there's enough smoke now at this point. The draft is the end of April, so they have all that time to make a move.
Yeah, because and they're honestly, I don't know, them and maybe the Titans are the only other teams I can really think of that, or the Jets too, obviously, but that are just, they've got quarterbacks and they don't believe in fucking anybody.
Yeah, I still, the Jets I still think end up with either Mike White or Jimmy G. Raiders are interesting to me because I can't.
They got Stidham. Jared Stidham.
Yeah, yeah, they do. But it's at the same time too. This is how many chances is Josh McDaniels going to get?
Yeah,
Where if he drafts a rookie quarterback and it doesn't work this year, and you got Devontae Adams, it just doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I don't see them making. It doesn't make any sense for them to get a rookie.
Right?
You gotta go get a veteran.
Right? You kind of
play
have
with that
to.
guy.
You kind of have to because otherwise, what's the point of having Devontae Adams? Yeah. Yeah.
Devontae's not gonna want to sit there and get a ball tossed to him by a guy who's not gonna be able to hit him. That's.
I can't imagine. He basically says, "Yeah, I want to come to the Raiders. I want to play with Derek Carr." And then they're like, "Hey, we're gonna pick Josh McDaniels over Carr. Sorry, and we're gonna bring you in this rookie quarterback." Devontae Adams will be like, "What?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just popped into my head. Is that also not telling as to what Devontae thinks about Jordan Love if he was not willing to stick around with the Packers to?
You know,
I'm just saying.
I don't know. That's a very loaded question because again, I don't think we're gonna know until way after, until the ESPN 30 for 30 the documentary comes out. I don't think we're ever gonna really know what happened in that situation because, again, we've talked about it literally all year. Devontae Adams not being there in Green Bay last year was very strange. It was very like, hey, we're trying to convince Aaron Rodgers to come back and go for a big run, and then we're going to trade Adams and then draft a linebacker and a D tackle with the first. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like there has to be so much more to that story.
I can't wait for somebody to come up with something on that whole.
Because I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but it's going to have to be Rodgers going to have to retire. Gunther Guntz will have to be gone. LaFleur probably will have to be gone because there was so much there. Like, how does because Devontae Adams is in no man's land right now because you have a top 2, top 3, top 1 wide receiver. And what? Like, then you get rid of the quarterback. The whole reason of him wanting to go to the Raiders was because of Carr.
Yeah.
And you're like, see you, goodbye. Goodbye, Carr. I don't know. It's definitely something to look at. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else, but
It'll be interesting.
it'll be interesting. We got time now. We could talk about some basketball.
Okay.
We can switch to some basketball right now.
Sam, if you're still watching, you'll be real happy.
Sam, hello, Sam. Let's just talk about LeBron real quick. Broke the record. Beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who had the record forever. Hand him the ball.
How pissed did Kareem look?
I feel like Kareem has really done a 180 on this because he did not look happy. All of his friends pretty much said he wasn't happy. He never thought his record would be broken. And I'm not going to get into LeBron is the greatest of all time because he had the record too. Because we could be here for hours talking about LeBron versus Wilt versus Jordan,
Russell.
Pick whoever you want to pick. It'll be there forever. And I think it's LeBron has had one of the most wild NBA careers in history. I mean, I guess when you're around that long, you're gonna, especially as a star player. But yeah, because Kareem came out, I think he was yesterday or today, and he talked about how great LeBron was for doing all community work, and he wished he had the avenues and all that other stuff. So Kareem has really done a 180, and he really actually is kind of all in now on him having the record. And from all accounts, it looks like LeBron's playing at least 3 more years, until at least he's 40. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover because we kind of brushed it through real quick. I mean, that's a hell of a feat. Nobody, I don't think, when you look at the greatest of all time scoring, I mean, no one thought Karl Malone was the second best player of all time till LeBron passed him. So I don't know if that's really a thing, but regardless, it's a hell of a accomplishment. And I don't know who the hell's ever going to beat that because now with the NBA rule, I mean, you're going to have to be a top 5. I mean, it's probably somebody that's not alive yet.
Yeah.
But you got to be a top 5 player, play 1 year of college, and then play in the NBA for now 22, 23 years, and then be a top 5 average points per game scorer. Mm-hmm. That's going to be wild. Yeah. But I think there's a lot that goes into this now because we'll talk about LeBron. Might as well talk about basketball. So, because we didn't cover a lot of the NBA trade deadline last week, but we can cover it now. So, they make all their trades. They get he finally handpicks his team, right?
Yep.
He's been handpicking his team pretty much since he's been in the league.
Yeah.
Gets rid of Westbrook. They've got pieces now, and I'm looking at the standings. They're currently 3 games back, and LeBron James has not played since he broke the record.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical of that. You were fine enough to play your 40 minutes or whatever you played to get the record, and now you're just...
and it's a lot of this is what a difference of eras. Before LeBron James... I don't want to say before LeBron James, but... when the Boston Celtics got their big 3, right? Or the big 4, whatever you want to call it, when it was Pierce, Ray Allen. Yeah. That was kind of when, and I don't want to say that was the changing of the guard, but that's kind of where NBA players kind of started picking where they went.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Lakers have now, I don't want to say, I mean, they won the bubble title, which, whatever. I mean, some people shit on it, some people don't. Somebody had to win it that year. But man, like LeBron's got this team hostage, and you got Anthony Davis. I mean, I feel like you go to the Lakers, and it's like, yeah, maybe he'll make the playoffs. Maybe, but it's just they're just destroying all these guys that come here. I mean, they're sending these pieces out, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, are the Lakers a play? I mean, are they a playoff team?
I really don't think so.
I mean, this is top
better.
10.
They're better after the trade deadline.
And 10 out of 16 teams make the playoffs now.
Yeah.
10 out of 16 teams. So, I mean, you've got to be the worst of the worst to not make the playoffs now. And, I mean, you got to hop ahead of the Thunder, Trailblazers, which maybe they can. I mean, Golden State's at 9 right now, but, I mean, once they get Steph Curry back. I mean, Zion's hurt, so maybe the Pelicans fall.
The Pelicans team has a lot of talent anyway. So.
Yeah, Utah's really fallen off the cliff after their hot start.
Yeah, but I even like the Thunder better than...
I mean, they played the other night, and the Thunder looked better than the Lakers, and that's kind of saying a lot because they don't have... I mean, it's just... I don't know.
That Thunder team is young, and they pass the ball. They play good basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, did we... Last week, so also, too, looking at this, so LeBron pulls all the strings, makes all these trades for the Lakers to get their guys, sits out, and I don't know if he can afford to sit out.
Right?
And I mean, I think that kind of goes along with it too because what is it? I mean, the LeBron James I mean, he wins the title 3 years ago now? Was it 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So this is gonna be year 4. He's missing it, and then the next 2-3 years, he's just gonna destroy that Lakers team. Ooh, it's weird because let's see after the trade, the Lakers trade, right? The Suns went out and got KD, which...
It's a pretty good pickup.
Well, I mean, you look at what they gave up. They gave around up 30 points a game is what they traded out. And when Durant comes back, they got 30 points a game with Durant plus whoever his backup is. So probably a net game for the Suns.
It's this year or nothing, though.
It's this year or nothing because you got CP3.
CP3's getting old. Book's playing unbelievable.
Booker, Ayton, Durant. TJ Warren, I think actually was a pretty good pickup too.
No, I mean that was
kind of under the radar, but I think that was actually a good pickup.
Yeah, TJ was playing rather well.
I mean, Dallas got Kyrie.
I didn't really understand that at all. That
he
move
kind
made
of
almost no sense to
they
me.
won the 2 games after theirs, and then they lost when Luka and Kyrie were together. But Luka seems to be on board. Kyrie came out yesterday and said, "Please stop asking about my future. It's distracting. I don't want to be a distraction here." You know, he's saying whatever he could say to get that extension.
Yikes.
But I mean, Dallas is ahead. The Clippers look like they might get Westbrook. The Clippers are whoever they could grab right now. Whoever is getting bought out.
I think it's either going to be the Clippers or the Suns that get Westbrook.
Yep. So I mean, it is wild. And now with all post trade deadline, who you got coming out of the West? Because we still have the Denver Nuggets who look real good, the Memphis Grizzlies who look real good, the Sacramento Kings who I don't want to say. I don't want to say it. But man, all of a sudden you got those first round picks, top 5 picks, top 6 picks, top 7 picks. And I don't want to say it reminds me of a young Golden State Warriors team because it doesn't. They don't have the shooting, obviously, but you start looking at the Kings and you're like,
De'Aaron Fox is real good.
And all these guys are lottery picks. They're all super athletic. I'm going to look at, I'm pulling it up here, but they're the 3 seed. I mean, who do you like out of the West?
The only thing I will say is, obviously, I'm still going to ride my Nuggets train. I've been on the Nuggets all year.
Before the season started.
They just have good depth. They have good everything like that. Their starting 5 is real good.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, in order to beat them, is going to need to beat up on Joker. And there's only a few teams in the West who can actually beat up on him. And the Phoenix Suns are one of them.
I mean, I think we can get into it now, too, because...
The Phoenix Suns are one of the teams that are going to be able to beat up on him because of DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton he's a borderline superstar. The kid can play. Real good basketball
and that was actually
player.
kind of wild, because I thought they almost let him go this year.
Which would have been asinine.
Right, because they were talking about Ayton for Kevin Durant trade, and they held on to it, held strong, hey, you can't have him, whatever.
Well,
he signed with Indiana, and then they matched it.
The reason why KD ended up getting traded was what was discussed last year. Was Cam Johnson?
Yep. Bridges.
No, Bridges was the key piece that the Nets were looking for.
Oh,
that the Suns weren't giving up until this year, which kind of changed their. Literally, that was the only thing that was different was Bridges,
and that's
why that whole deal went through.
And I think we might as well talk about the Suns now too because they're probably going to pose the biggest threat. I like the Grizzlies, but
I don't think the Grizzlies have the presence in.
If Durant doesn't win this year. Where does that put Kevin Durant? Because I'm trying to think of a player that has played on this many teams where they're absolutely stacked. Like you look at these teams that he's been a part of. I mean, obviously when he first went to the Sonics, now Thunder, they didn't have anything. But then it was like Westbrook and Harden. And he rolled with Westbrook and Harden for a while, and then he eventually went to Golden State and he played with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Then he goes to Brooklyn and he plays with. Builds his team. He plays with. He wanted Kyrie. He played with Kyrie. Then he had the reunion with Harden, and then they swapped it. Now he gets to play with Devin Booker and CP3. And if this guy doesn't win, what does that say about the overall legacy of Kevin Durant? Because, man, LeBron James. Say what you want about him. At least he's got 4 rings. He picked who he wanted to play with, and he pulled the strings or whatever. Durant's had the same opportunity, and it's like until he didn't pull the strings, and they basically said, "Here, we're putting you on a 73-win team." He can't win, and it's just I don't know what it says about him.
I don't understand what the deal is. I don't know why that happens.
And one interesting, maybe not interesting. He's never played with everybody that he's ever played with has been an all-star. He's never went to a team and then somebody's been elevated to an all-star. And I don't know if that has a lot to do with it. I don't know. But it's also tough, too. If you go to Golden State, they're all all-stars.
Yeah.
If you go, think of where he's gone. Like, who on the Nets is going to be an all-star when he's taking 20 shots? Kyrie's taking 20 shots. Harden's taking 20 shots. Like, it doesn't give a lot of room for that. So, I just don't know what it says if they don't win this year. Because the same thing, too, with CP3. You look at CP3. When he went to the Thunder, they're like, they're going to be terrible. He takes them to the playoffs. Like, he's everywhere he's gone, he's been a playoff guy.
But that's it.
And he just can't seem to get over the hump.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Which it doesn't make it. He's one of the best ball distributors of this generation.
If you look at his win shares and you look at his everything, look at every advanced statistic, it'll tell you that he is a top 1, top 2 point guard that has ever played.
Yeah.
Between his shooting percentages, his low turnovers, his high assists. Every team's efficiency has skyrocketed since he's gone there. He goes with bad players, he turns them into a playoff team. But at what point, man? But it's also it's so hard to win as a point guard. Like it's so hard because it's such a big man league, or at least you have to be the primary scorer league. I should say. I don't know.
It's interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know where.
I don't know
where things go. I don't know what happens with them because
I think out east it kind of remains the same. You have Boston, Philly, Bucks. It's going between those 3. After all the trades, the Nets kind of just blew it up. Like they had a shot for a while. They were looking really good. But they kind of blew it up.
The Nets will be good in the next 2-3 years, probably.
I
wouldn't discredit the Cavs just because the Cavs got so much explosive offense and their interior defense is phenomenal.
They have a lot of talent.
But I don't see it being anybody outside of those 4, really.
Yeah, because it really what's going to come down to is Donovan Mitchell and Garland running the show together in the playoffs. Might be a little bit different, but yeah, I don't know. Post trade deadline, man, I don't know.
The West is not quite up for grabs, but it's
loaded. Well, the West is because Denver. I could see Denver. I could see Memphis, Sacramento. Maybe they've played really well. Phoenix. Are you going to count out Luka in a 7-game series? You're going to have to beat him 4 times. I know you looked the Clippers early. If they add Westbrook, if they add some,
because they don't have a point guard anymore.
Right. If they add pieces, like all of a sudden you're like, okay, and
they don't have an actual point guard.
Same thing with the Pelicans. If they get healthy, you look at their team, you're like, wow, they're kind of stacked. You have Golden State sitting at 9. Like when Steph Curry comes back,
who the hell knows what the team can do?
Same thing too. Like we don't know what's going on with Gary Payton. The trade went through.
They're saying hopefully playoffs.
So all of a sudden now Golden State could look like they were last year. I mean, they can't win on the road apparently, which is strange.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I mean, like, I don't think Minnesota's going to win because that was a horrible trade with Rudy Gobert and
No, that made no sense.
But yeah, holy shit, it's been an hour already. Well, we covered a lot of basketball at least.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to start covering other stuff that's not football. Sorry, we can do it. I'm not scared.
Nope.
So, all right, well, that's it. Till next time, Pam Stone.
And Josh Burnett.
Bye.
Bid you adieu.
Bye.